Hey guys, and welcome to another brand new video. In this video, we actually have a very interesting topic to go bringing up over here in regards to Xbox, Microsoft, and also in China/Russia. Now, this is going to be a very intriguing article to kind of do a little bit more of a deep dive and kind of a call out in regards to what the future of this potential Activision acquisition may go and hold into, and as well also the kind of tie into with Microsoft and China and also the CCP. I know it's kind of like a little bit, I'm just giving you guys the forewarning on this one. This is definitely a little bit outside of my usual video side itself, and just wanted to go talk about it because we actually had an article over here that's kind of discussing the actual ramifications, and as well, this also kind of ties into on the big state and country regulations in terms of the acquisition and all this type of stuff tied on it. And of course, there's also, I think, somewhat valid critique when it comes to who is getting information, how these deals are going through, and a lot of big ties into as well. So we're gonna go talk about this, and once again, this is a little bit more on slightly more on the political side, and as well, maybe not necessarily fully what I kind of go and think, but kind of want to highlight it and discuss kind of the big picture of what's going on. This is my disclaimer too, so make sure you guys are nice up on the comment section down below. So as well, let's go make sure we are subscribed with the notifications on in case you guys would like, as well for a $500 Xbox, PlayStation 5, or just $500 cash giveaway. We do have the Twitter and Twitch stream down below if you guys want to follow for those bonus entries, and as well, we have the Amazon links up and down below, and of course also Target links too. So let's go and talk about this. So, as you guys may or may not know, we have had a big kind of back and forth when it comes to Xbox trying to buy the acquisition of Activision, so Call of Duty, Guitar Hero, etc. But now we're actually having even more big opinions coming out over here in regards to Chinese information, and also Microsoft themselves trying their best to. I'm not really sure. This kind of might be a reach. I'm not sure exactly how specifically this might go and be in regards to the CCP and all the information that's being shared. More so because I'm just not well versed on it, but I thought it was maybe an interesting article to go and highlight as well. And this is in regards to basically American consumers' data and information that might be released then to China in a spell with all these individual users with Call of Duty or Overwatch, World of Warcraft. There's also that nice bigger, I guess, worry when it comes to that information also being sold and moved out to as well. So let's go talk about this. We actually have an intriguing article over here from Fox News. Now, hopefully no one's going to discredit it, because more so I care about the idea of what is actually potentially going on over here. And this also ties into what also regulators will potentially be looking at and discussing too. So kind of think more of a high picture too as well. I know sometimes when people mention Fox News, they're like, oh my God, or any reason with this. So the big idea with this is that China wants to take over your Xbox. So basically, the Microsoft's purchase of Activision Blizzard could also help its partners then in China expand into tech power. Now, this can kind of go into either way depending on how you guys think about it. Number one is that we have been seeing a big Chinese kind of growth pattern, both from PlayStation and Xbox, in regards to they want to have more Chinese developers, more Chinese companies, and they also obviously want to expand into the Asian markets. Think China, India, Japan, Indonesia, etc., because there's billions of people living there. But that also kind of leads in this big thing that regulators might be worried about, where information might not be secure. And that kind of ties into with the fact if they want to go hardcore into China, or also have access to companies like Tencent that also has their hands in many different big companies, Fortnite, League of Legends, and a lot of other various things. And also this article we'll get to has a 5% stake in Microsoft, as well might also have ties with Chinese government, where they may want to go and try to basically subpoena and get the access, all the information for potentially even American consumers. So that's kind of the overall big picture of this one too as well. Let's talk about it. And of course this as well, when it comes a little bit more on the political side, this is definitely not my forte. I'm just a random dude talking about video games, or I'm not trying to be a political channel, and I accept that. So if you guys do make comments, keep that in mind that I'm also an idiot. So basically, Microsoft is buying Activision Blizzard, the video game company behind titles like Guitar Hero, Candy Crush, World of Warcraft, Call of Duty, and other big games. StarCraft, Overwatch 2 has been popping off too as well, in the largest tech acquisition in history. But antitrust regulators are assessing whether the deal could hurt competition in the booming global video game industry, as we've covered and highlighted a lot on the channel. But for numerous reasons, including the fact that Microsoft already produces the widely used Xbox gaming console. Further consolidation in the tech industry elicits well-deserved skepticism from regulators, but they should also consider how this deal can help America's greatest geopolitical advisory in China. So I would actually kind of go and say in terms of this one, it's not my usual day-to-day worry, but it is, I think, something for big, high-tier US and UK regulators that this might be a big deal. So to understand how, it's more important to understand that Microsoft's long and close relationship with the People's Republic of China and its ruling Chinese Communist Party of the CCP. So this is kind of once again, this is a little bit outside of my knowledge base too, so if you guys have any other information stuff, you guys can always leave it down below. Just trying to be as respectful as I can on it, because I'll just admit to it. So Microsoft has operated in China for 3 decades, boasting on its website that its most complete subsidiary and largest R&D center outside the United States is actually in China. Now, in a general theory, I think that's smart because, as I mentioned, the Asian markets are huge, but I think a lot of these regulators are also kind of concerned on the information of American data. So Microsoft Research Asia, or MRA, has trained thousands of Chinese AI researchers, including top executives at companies like Huawei, whose products have been deemed as such a security risk that the company is sanctioned by the US government and rejected by free nations around the world. Now, when it comes to this stuff, it's up. That's why we have a lot of regulators that might be concerned about this or might bring this issue up because they don't want to have people's access for their data also involved. So basically, the Microsoft trained tech talent played integral roles in building China's oppressive surveillance state. A Financial Times report recently exposed that Microsoft itself worked with a Chinese military-run university on artificial intelligence research that would be used for surveillance and censorship. It's also widely known that China's boundless national security laws require companies, including Microsoft, to fork over any data that the CCP deems necessary for public safety. With these and many others examples of Microsoft's close relationship with China, it's no wonder that the Chinese government official glowingly declared that Bill Gates was bigger than China than any movie star. Now, there's definitely a little bit of like Fox News bias when it ties into that one, so you guys can say whatever you guys want to. I try to be like non-political as much as I can. But the one thing that is kind of noting that there is ties with China, and it is also ties with like how they have their government laws. It's kind of like even in America, is that if American companies want to subpoena and try to get information, they can actually go through the courts and potentially find information or get internal information for people. So the same thing could also happen in China or other countries too as well. And obviously some of these actual people are a little bit more scared because even the UK was even tightening security over hacking fears from like, Russia and China. And while there is a lot of just kind of like underground things going on when it comes to these big deals. In video games, although may not be the smallest thing, there's also a lot of ties with potential like, just a lot of stuff when it comes to China or Chinese information or also user data, etc. So the second thing to understand is that Chinese government is ready to make serious moves in the video game industry. So they also are saying that might be for major national security implications. So according to the Chinese data government affiliated news outlet Global Times, one of the Chinese regime's top political advisors bemoaned the fact that Chinese officers and soldiers are playing war computer games mainly made by foreign companies that can convey wrong values to as well, which kind of sounds pretty typical of China over there. So they also want to potentially have tie-ins too with Xbox to be like, hey, if you want to go and sell these games, you have to make sure you're kind of following our strict regulations and rule set that we've already made. Now, this is not a new thing in China because China right now actually has some of the least amount of video games available due to their own pretty big regulations. They want to make sure their games kind of fit their company values and like country values, and they also definitely have a lot of Western movies edited. They don't have specific things or things like blood involved, or as well as same for video games, they actually have a very strict, rigorous process to make sure these games can be sold, and this is not new information. This is actually information that's been around for a while, and we've even covered up on the channel itself, where China is a very, very hardcore country, where the fact that even PlayStations or Xbox from America are actually selling at a higher value due to them not having like region locks and game locks, etc., etc. So this actually does have some merit when it comes to this. And as well, they're kind of basically pushing the idea that these kind of like are just not what China values, and they would probably be expecting Microsoft, if they want to stay in the Chinese markets, to also fine-tune their games and adjust stuff and maybe potentially work with the government more as well. So we call the government to boost funding and policy support for the domestic video game industry to not only display the good image of the Chinese military, but also to possibly use video games to train their troops. We need to push forward to develop independent and regulated military-themed video games and explore how to use them scientifically in assisting military training. So these are all very kind of strange quotes to be kind of hearing when it comes to video games, especially for tie-ins with Microsoft. Now, I am not blaming Microsoft, more so blaming China, because this is like the Chinese regulations that they're looking into. The third thing to understand is that China has a proven industry takeover playbook that they are poised to run in the video game industry. So from a preview of what's to come, look no further than the film industry, and they were just basically using the film industry as an example, luring, Hollywood in with the promise of new moviegoers, and then they wanted to then also control and manipulate some of like the narratives in these big movies. And as you guys may know, a lot of movie films are somewhat adjusted, as I kind of mentioned, to kind of fit the either narrative or kind of cut out things that China doesn't want. And some movies are just basically, if they want to make a lot of money in the Chinese market, they have to make it specifically how they want to make it go to as well. So there was a little bit of bias, obviously, when it comes to that. Same with, the other like articles too as well. Obviously, I just know people get more touchy in Fox News, but this is a big thing that regulators are going to be looking into. because they don't want to have access to like a $1 trillion plus business industry with video games where it's making billions of dollars every year. And they also want to be worried about consumer data, American data, UK data, and as well what they might go and change or want to push towards in their government itself. So a little bit more of a higher level political type discussion on this one, but I think it's kind of worth noting because regulators are also discussing this too. So I want to hear your thoughts and comments down below. And as well, make sure you guys are subscribed with the notifications on as well for the brand new PlayStation 5 $500 or Xbox giveaway. Use the Twitter and Twitch room down below for bonus entries. We also do have the Webull, Target, and Amazon sign-up links down below. And I appreciate you guys all so much for watching here in the first place.